Hello, my peeps, and welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. It's the final episode! We made it! We're gonna die! And I am here with my fantastical editor. Say hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
And we're going to go over all the miraculous moments that we remember and, to kind of cap off this great experience that y'all out there who have listened to us have given us. We thank you so much for hanging on this long, listening in at just this point. Hopefully, if this is somehow the first episode you've heard, maybe these will inspire you to go listen to old episodes. But as sad and as beautiful as it is, this is the end, my friends. So we've kind of come here to commiserate and congratulate and just revel in what the show was. So first up, how did this podcast get started? I think I've gone over this a couple times, but I was going stir crazy after just moving to Los Angeles, having just graduated college with my editor. We both graduated same semester and needed something to do. I was in the height of the pandemic, alone in an apartment in a city I didn't know, and the opportunities to meet people were zilch and zero. So I needed to create a way to get my social butterfly fed, as no one says, but that's how it felt. And so I'd always kind of liked interviewing people, was a big fan of Hot Ones on YouTube, or what's his name? Who's the Nardwar? I can't even remember his absurd perfunctory title, but they both did these amazing interviews. I loved that they would cut to the core of people and get to talk to people and ask these bizarre questions. And while I didn't have the connections or, the venue to do such a thing at a time, I figured I'd kind of do my own version of it. So I wanted to ask people about what they were passionate about and what peeved them off, because these are two things that would hit a highlight reel dealy. But to do so, I needed an editor, because I knew that from my times at university was not a good editor. So thusly, I reached out to
me. The current editor. Woo! I'm hoping that's what the transition you were hoping for, or did I?
Yeah, no, nailed it. Good job, buddy.
Wipes forehead with a paper towel.
Paper towel?
Well, I don't have a cloth on me, so I pantomimed it with my hand. Even though no one can see anything, I did actually move.
It's just radio.
My forehead. It helps with we'll call it acting. Yeah. Definitely a voice actor over here. Yep.
So Richard and I met in at the California State University, Monterey Bay. We both graduated from the film program at the end of 2020, and both enrolled in the spring semester of 2019. And our meeting was a little less than organic. I think I've told this story, but I'm curious to hear it from your lens. How do you remember how we met, Richard?
Okay, so I told my parents this, like, when I went home. I forget what it was for. It was some kind of break, like a week off or something.
I mean, so, you did live like an hour and a half away.
Yeah,
you didn't need that much of an excuse to go home.
No, but I remember it was like a significant amount of time, because it wasn't just like for the day.
Yeah.
So what I remember, we were sitting in class, and I can't remember her name or what class it was, but I remember being in it. I remember parts of it, okay? Just not the whole thing. We were doing like those introductions that everyone hates, like, hey, this is my name, these are my hobbies, this is what I like, this is who I am, that like no one likes to do, and it's really awkward, but you do it anyways because that's what you do when you're in school. And so I go up and I tell my name, tell like when I'm graduating and all that, and I say kind of one thing was like a hobby or something something
Yeah.
about me that I liked or whatever. And mine was, there's a web comic animated series on YouTube and the internet, Cyanide and Happiness. And I mentioned that and then a couple other things about myself. And then I go sit down, and then later at like and then everyone else does theirs, right? And Isaac does his. At the end of the class, I'm sitting in like the second row from the front, and Isaac's sitting in the back. He comes over to my desk, asks me, or mentions, "Hey, we're graduating at the same time." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "We should be best friends." And then fucking leaves. Just walks out because class was over. And I was like, okay. Did I just make a friend? Is that how that works? I tell this to my parents, and they're like, "Oh, that's kind of strange. Kind of never heard anyone doing like that." And so in my head, I'm thinking, that's not how it went down, is it? I'm remembering this incorrectly. Sometime later, Isaac was telling me, I don't know if you want to tell your side of the story or if you want me to tell you what I remember.
Go ahead and tell.
Okay.
I remember exactly how I remember it, so I'm curious to hear the flip reverse.
So then, I think I come to visit you in LA, and we're talking, and you ask me how we became friends, and I tell you the story that I just told, like I told my parents, and
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, that's exactly how it happened. I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm not crazy. That's actually how it happened. Is that how that works?
The only difference I know in our stories is that I remember doing it at the beginning of class, not at the end.
Oh, was it the beginning?
My memory is that I walked into class, saw you sitting there, nobody's sitting around to judge me, and so there's no audience. There's like 4 people in the classroom, so I just walked up and I could say it quiet enough so you could hear, and there's nobody sitting around you, that I'm going to either be disrupting the class or people are gonna like listen in.
Uh-huh.
And I asked, "Hey, are you graduating this semester?" "Yeah." "You live on the same block as me, right?" "Yeah." "We should be best friends." "Okay." And then I didn't sit next to you, I just sat in the back of class. Which is my favorite part, is I was like, all right, cool, lock that in. All right, see ya. And then I sat in the back of class because I don't know how peopling works. And it was just fucking, and then like, yeah, we didn't hang out for like a week or so.
Yeah,
I think I got
your
like number. Yeah, and then we started hanging out like once or twice a week, watching old anime and heckling it, and it was off to the races from there.
Is that how friendship work? I don't know. Does it matter? Not at all.
Worked for these 2 numbskulls. But yeah, I reached out to Richard and was like, "Hey, I've got a project I don't like." I knew I didn't like editing because every time I tried to edit something in college, I got like stir crazy. I couldn't sit still and do small changes like that for long periods of time without like needing to like peel my skin off. So I was like, I know I'm not going to have the wherewithal to do this, so I need to get an editor. And then we had worked on both of our own. I had helped you with your capstone project, you had helped me with my capstone project. We had worked, were we in the same, were we both in JP's class first semester as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Like the film at the
the
class,
ones where we like made our own films. Yeah, you made one where you had to like redo the audio in post, I think, because the audio was like shot, like the audio on location was just dog shit, right? Because it was like windy or something.
Yeah, probably. There's a couple of projects I think I do redo. Like,
yeah,
shit happens.
But one of the things is you had been very about doing audio on a lot of projects. I think we worked on one of the capstones, and you had been like boom op and like the sound guy for it, and you were always about sound. Had done a decent amount of, I think you'd taken one more editing class than I did or something. And so I kind of felt like it was somebody that, I had a lot of rapport with, and somebody that I knew was kind of about that aspect of, artistry. So I knew it would be in good hands.
Yeah, I do very much enjoy working with the sound, whether I'm good at it or not. It's up to you guys, I guess. But I did take it was an audio a sound design class. It was like a whole like a semester long thing. So that definitely
100%. I did not take this class, so I have no idea.
Yeah, no.
I can't believe it was a class. We also had to do those like weird weekend things where we had to like show up for like 2 weekends and like do a thing
with one of our favorite teachers. He was cool. Very weird though.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
I remember he lived in San Francisco.
He lived in San Francisco, shaved head, mustache, and always wore shorts.
Yes, really short shorts.
Yeah,
Often jorts, I think, but
the man was awesome. I tried to get him to come on the podcast, but I could not get a hold of him, to the surprise of no one that ever. Like, this is a professor that when I had him for first semester, and multiple times he showed up hours late or didn't show up. I think like 1 to 2 classes he didn't show up, and we were like sitting in the classroom and somebody was checking their email and like, oh, he just emailed us, he's not going to make it today, so class is canceled.
Yeah, I think there were less than 5 classes, or like I had like an actual class with him too. It was like less than 5 that he was on time. Most of the time he was like 10-15 minutes late.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Like, it was weird when he was on time. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. That being said, part of this is we both were kind of old for university at that point. I think we were both in like the top 5 eldest in our classroom, often including teachers. I think so. I was like 29, I think, right? I think I was like,
I think you were 29,
28, I think, when I was going there. And you were, or no, whoa, my math sucks. I was like 30 when I was going there. So I'm turning 37 this year, minus 4 years, 33. So yeah, I was in my early 30s going there, and I think you were in your like mid to late 20s.
I really hate that you put a number on it because it does not feel like it's been 4 years.
Right?
But yes, I was like, what, 26?
It's been like 3.5. We're recording this in summer.
I mean, it's been longer than it feels like it has been. Like, it feels like we just graduated like a week ago.
Yeah, but I mean, how old are you now?
30, almost 31.
So like 26, 27.
Yeah.
And most of the kids in the program were in their early 20s, which is fine, but I think that's like part of the reason we connected is like we're just like I remember there was a party that we kind of got invited to, and we went to we pretty quickly migrated down to the basement to play cornhole. And then shortly after, we're like, this fucking sucks, and left. It's so loud. Like, we were literally the old guys in the balcony, just like, turn it down. It's like too loud. We're like, oh, fucking out of here. This sucks.
We were definitely of the older group, but we both have like similar. We can't handle a lot of people and a lot of noise for very long.
No. Yeah. We are the opposite of parties are us.
Yeah. A party for me, staying at home watching a movie.
Yeah.
Or playing a video game or something.
I think the ideal party is like maxes out at like I don't think I ever wanted to hit double digits. Like, I want it to be like at least 3, preferably like 4.
Oh, people,
but I don't think I want to hit 10. I think like 9 is like coming close to too many. Like 10 people, I'm just like, what are we doing here? This is too many. We got to be able to we got to be able to all fit into a van. I think that's like my ideal party group. So pretty quickly we realized that. But one of my favorite things about that, circling back to this complete non sequitur, about the professor, was that like early on, I don't know if you had any of these kind of complaints in your class, but there was no book in that. Right? Irwin, yeah. There was no book in that class. It was, we would watch a thing, we would talk about it, and then he'd give us a project because it was once a week. And then you come back having done the project or watched the thing and formed an opinion. Pretty basic shit. All in all, a very easy class, just like the rest of our, program. Fucking, do the thing, get an A. It's the easiest, like, it's the easiest, like, GPA 4.0 GPA kind of course to take. And I remember some kid complaining about how he didn't have, like, Erwin's like, yeah, it's on Netflix, and the guy's like, I don't have Netflix, and I could see in Erwin's response he was just like wanting to be like bullshit, but he was just like, just find somebody that has it, and his response is like, well, what if I can't? And he's like, then fucking pay for it. There's no book in this class. And I was just like, my guy, just preach.
Yeah, Netflix is what, $8 a month at that point?
Yeah, I was like,
you don't have $8 for an entire class. Come on.
Well, it wasn't for a class; it was for one assignment. But it's like we meet for like what 12 weeks because there's however many weeks in a semester. It's like I don't know. It was like the kid's not wrong, but also shut the fuck up. I don't know. It really spoke to my soul having a teacher be like, dude, it's like a lunch. There's no book in this class. I'm requiring so fucking little of you. Stop trying to get out of this work. We meet one time a week and it's barely like class. Like, please stop. And I was just like, oh, get up.
You don't have a friend that you can watch this with also?
Yeah, like just
come on.
Pirate it. Do something. Like, shut up.
Not that we're condoning pirating, but yeah, seriously.
Would you download a car? Yes, yes, I would. Does it fucking run? Like, I'll download it right now. Speaking of, by the way, just got back in the Life of Isaac update. I just got back from going to see my mechanic. So my car has been. I started up my car the other day, and it literally sounded like a braying mule. And I was like, "Oh shit, that can't be good." I took it to my guy, and he looked at it for like 3 seconds. He goes, "Oh yeah, it's this," and then went in and showed me. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, it's the AC belt." I was like, "There's an AC belt?" He goes, "Yeah, check it." Leaves the car on. I just always have the AC running because I prefer. This is weird. Not only do I prefer the feeling of AC because I grew up in the desert, but also I prefer the smell of AC. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm driving a car, if somebody turns on the heater in any car, it always kind of smells weird to me. Most frequently, especially my cars, and that's probably because I never run the heating because I live in deserts.
I can understand that,
but has the AC on, it's making a horrible whining sound. Turns the AC off, immediately stops. I was like, oh shit. He goes, yeah, it's that. I was like, all right. There's a reason I come to you. You're fucking awesome. And he looks up the price, and I was like, I mean, I'm gonna pay it. And then he said the number, and I was like, is there another option? And this is how I know he's the mechanic for me. Like I found the wife equivalency of a mechanic. Is that I was like, is there any other option? He goes, I mean, I guess if you didn't want to pay this money, you could drive your car out to Death Valley, roll up the windows, and let God take care of it. It's like, Jesus Christ, you're my hero. I was like, here's my credit card. Take my life.
Wait, so do you remember what he said it was? Was it the belt or was it like the compressor or something?
I think it's some weird belt compressor. He's ordering the part. I'm going in tomorrow to get it fixed.
It's not just a belt though, so it's not like $5. It's like
no, it's more. Like $1,500.
Oh shit.
I was just like, yeah. But I mean, after driving home, like one of the things I have to do for the next 24 hours and now like 12 hours is I have to drive without the AC on. Otherwise, if it breaks between now and then, it's a different kind of problem and it's a lot more expensive. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm driving without AC. I drove the 30 minutes home with no AC and my windows down. I was like, yeah, this is worth the money. Like within 30 minutes, I was like, fuck it. Yeah, like I'm not living like this.
Yeah, it sucks being in a hot car.
Yeah, being in a hot car or having to have the windows down in LA, fucking both are just bad. I'm like, all right, fine. To also add insult to injury, my car is costing me so much money these days because the other day I got my car towed for being in a zone that it wasn't, which is fun. So they said my car was in an area of construction, which it was when I got there, but when I parked my car, it wasn't. And I parked it the night before, and it didn't have any signs up being like, yo, there's going to be construction here. So
that's bullshit.
Agree that's bullshit. Hopefully, the talking to a friend of mine who's a lawyer and a previous guest on this show, Dan Millickman, I was like, hey, should I just like pay for this or should I not? And he goes, can you get the money back from the tow? And I was like, is that where the break even line is? He goes, yep. He goes, if you can get the money back from the tow, which is like 75% of the like how much it cost me, then I would fight it. It's like, if they're not going to pay you back for the money on the tow, just save yourself hours of like paperwork for like a 50-50 shot on saving $70. I'm like, fair enough. So I get to call the LAPD tomorrow and be like, please God, like include the tow as a possible refund, so that I can spend like 5 hours on the phone calls to like get a hearing to show up and hope that you decide that I wasn't lying. So
Yeah, that's
fingers crossed about that.
fingers crossed over here too.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. The end of the show. As this is the passionate people and preposterous peeves, we're going to start off with the passions. So one of my favorite passions, and I think it's just the way he framed it, and this is not going to be the first or last time he's brought up on this podcast, is Greg Hatch in season 1 talking about building an autopilot for life because he didn't want to have to make decisions. just such a, if you've ever gotten to meet the man or listen to the episode, which I would highly recommend, hold on, I can actually look up which episode this is for those who want to go back and listen to it. This would be, it's got to be season 1, right? Hold on.
Yeah, season 1, episode 33.
Yes, episode 33, season 1. You're absolutely right. Greg Hatch, where he talks, and some of these, if we're able to find them or find a good sound clip, my awesome editor here will be inserting some clips in between these. If not, go back and listen to it itself. These episodes are awesome. But the idea of being like, I don't want to make decisions, so then making a lot of decisions to make no decisions is just such a Greg Hatch maneuver. I fucking love it.
It is autopilot. I'm passionate about the idea that thinking is so inefficient. Just so inefficient. It's so helpful, but it's so inefficient. Just like so many things we do that are better to do manually than to devise some mechanical process to do it every day for you for free. Think about like making coffee, for example, right?
Okay.
I just as a to get to, yeah. So when you make coffee, you can have a machine make that for you, like deliver the cup to your room, and it would be delivered as soon as you wake up. Now that's not impossible; it can be done, but it's so like much work that you'd rather just do it manually every single day, right?
Sure.
But that's not how your mind works. Your mind is super efficient and can make these automated processes happen without you trying at all. In fact, the less you think about something, the more it happens automatically. Mm-hmm. So I try to think as little as possible under all circumstances. I basically live in a constant state of meditation, which is awesome. And so I love to react. I don't like to make decisions, and I love to just wander and follow others. Because it's sort of like going to the gym for my autopilot. It's just like, you are what you do kind of stuff. There's no better barometer. For me, I just want to do whatever it is that someone else is doing. So like, and the best part about that is that with autopilot, I started thinking to myself, and maybe take a moment, if you're listening, just to ask yourself a few questions, just very few. One of them is, how often have you thought about something and you're glad that you did? Like really glad, like the conclusion you came to is different and correct. So it happens, but not that often, like not often enough. And I've noticed that I'd way rather be wrong in those scenarios than expend all of the effort to and so the biggest summary of that is, the only thing worse than worrying about something, the only thing worse than something bad happening is worrying about something bad happening.
Absolutely.
And so I'm passionate mostly about just letting my subconscious run the show, trusting that what I've done so far in my life has like informed it of like how I want to behave and how it's, how social customs are, and sort of allow my subconscious to just, have free reign over the wheel and only take control of it when I really need to, when it's very important, when I'm going, when like the brakes are cut or I'm veering off a cliff, then I take the wheel and make sure that I can get on track again. Think like, not doing work or something for like a week, right? Like eventually you have to say like, well, self-preservation is going to come first here. But like, I don't spend the whole work, worrying about not working. So I don't spend the whole, anyway. So, hard to summarize, but the biggest thing is that there's so little value to thinking in a day-to-day life. It's not like a debate with another person. It's just you in your head. And it's just like a waste of time and not very fruitful.
Well, what about you? Do you have a favorite passion or any favorite passions?
Just want to say, I love the variety we had in passions throughout these things. From what, plumbing? Like, who's passionate about plumbing to being passionate about window cleaning? Like, don't get me wrong.
So awesome to hear his stories about window cleaning. And like the fact that it was a family business he was starting before he was like 14.
And I can get behind that. It like seeing a window go from being dirty to like clean, that is satisfying. But like just to be like have a passion about it that you can talk about for hours is like, I like it.
No, that one was awesome. I totally spaced on that one until you reminded me. Is that your favorite, one of your favorite passions? Is the window cleaning?
I think that's one of my favorite passions. Was Gabriel.
I think it was season 2.
Is it 2 or?
Gabriel Sedgemore,
yeah.
So that would have been, I believe, we're looking at episode 29, season 2. Gabriel Sedgemore talked about cleaning windows, and that was one of the episodes. So I'm not going to name names because that would be mean, but there were plenty of guests on here where it was fun. Mostly, I'm doing a podcast. This is enjoyable. And there were other times where I would have paid my guest. Gabriel is one of the guests that I would have paid him money. I had so much fun recording that episode, just shooting the shit with the guy. He was such a good shit, and just it was effortless recording that episode.
I am a window cleaner. I'm a third generation window cleaner. My grandfather started it, or rather his older brother started it. He taught his kids, and those kids taught me and their kids. My brother actually owns the family. He's the sole owner operator of the family business that we have up in Seattle. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and I started one down here, much smaller scale.
So was this on your? Am I correct in assuming that it's on your mom's side?
Yes, you are very correct.
Okay. Yeah. So it went from grandpa to mom, or did it like go to uncle to you? Was there like a bit of a triangulation, or was it like direct descendant?
Well, yeah, actually both. It went from grandfather to my mom is the eldest of 3 boys. So all 4 kids were taught how to clean windows. Well, actually, first they were taught how to build boats, and then they were taught how to
and then use a toilet, and then do windows. When you're building a boat, you can just shit anywhere. You're on a dock. It's basically a huge toilet.
Actually, that's how.
There's water right there. You don't have to flush. It's a toilet.
You're that kid that just stalls in the middle of the pool and then continues to swim along.
Hey, if nobody notices, nobody's damaged. What's the harm? What's the foul? Am I right?
A tree poops in a forest.
That's my next album. Tree poops in a forest. Does anybody smell it?
Pretty good.
Did you ever were there ever episodes that were difficult for you to edit for good reasons? Like you were just enjoying it too much that you found yourself listening to it as opposed to working on it?
There definitely are. I wouldn't be able to tell you any of the episodes they were, because it's just a lot, and I have not the greatest of memories. But there were, I would just be like listening to it, forget that I'm to like look at the audio tracks or whatever. And realized, oh shit, it's been 30 minutes. I have no idea what just happened. I don't know if anything bad was in there.
Yeah,
all I remember is laughing.
Or
like a lot of the peeves, they just took me out, and I just completely lost focus. But yeah, there were.
So for those who don't know, how long does it take you to edit? Like most of these early on, the episodes were like 2 hours. Later on, we got it down to like around an hour. So could you do a ratio of like minute of product to how long it takes you to edit it? Ballpark?
It did vary a lot depending on how much I had to go back and like readjust audio a little bit. Anywhere from like maybe double. So if the episode was an hour long, it would take 2 hours to edit. Anything up to like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
Just depending on how, if I had to clean it up or if I had to go back and listen to it like 6 times to get it, because like spiked somewhere or whatever. Like I mean,
speaking of plumbing, that probably was the worst episode for you to edit. Was the one that was my friend talking about plumbing, because he recorded on what sounded like a fucking milk carton. It was just so bad. He was just recording on his cell phone with a fucking like with his air conditioning running at max or something. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Glad we got it. Awesome to have you on, Robert. It was great, but the recording quality was not there. Another one that was kind of effortless was talking about geology with Evan Ernston, good friend of mine. Did not realize he was that passionate about it, but this is season 2, episode 20. Talking about geology was so much fun, and just like so much I didn't know about went into geology and like what he did, because every time we were hanging out, we were playing Magic, and I knew that's what he did. I think I stopped by his office once to like pick something up, but I never really knew about it. And so getting to ask and find out all that there was to something that you see characters in movies and shit have that job, and get to kind of go deeper and try and figure it out, at least from a very pedestrian angle. It was very fascinating.
I wonder how hard it is to like be passionate about something like geology and tell people about how much you love geology, and they're looking at you like, I have no idea what those words are. Yeah. I can hear you talk about it. I can't contribute to this conversation at all, but I love hearing you talk about it. I wonder if geology is one of those things.
I mean, I'm sure. That's one of those things that I don't like talking about Magic the Gathering by and large, because it's tell me about it. I'm like, you're not going to understand any of it. I'm going to be speaking nerdnese to you for the next half an hour, and you're just going to be like, I hope you get it. Like, and if that's what you're about, like, if you want to hear somebody speak a foreign language to you, you can listen to me talk to a friend for a while, but it's not going to make any sense.
Like, oh yeah, you use cards. Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than you were when we started, I guess.
Well, somehow I ended up getting real passionate about rocks. Not that kind, folks.
Man, that sounds rockalish. I don't know. I was trying to like do some kind of fuck it. Moving on.
Yeah, I got into geology. I got into geology in my mid-20s, and I've never looked back. I love it for a number of reasons. It's just really been a fantastic career choice. So.
What you got another passion in the old shotgun there, bud?
I think I may have mentioned it, the plumbing one.
Yeah.
It's just another, it's like who loves plumbing like that? But I love it. No, I love that you love it.
Yeah. This is episode
Robert Hale, season
3. Episode 31, season 3. Yeah. Listening to Robert's somebody who I could listen to talk about literally anything, but especially it is really cool to hear him talk about something that he was very passionate about. I mean, he's passionate about most things, but like an occupation where he like likes doing it. Like this is what he's fucking about. It's like really fucking rad.
That's like one of those, if you do a job you love, you don't work a day in your life type of things. It's like,
yeah.
I don't fully buy that, but yeah, I can get behind.
Oh no, that notion is.
I get it.
It has the right theory. Yeah, like yeah. It's just such a fucking cliche, but like there is a kernel of truth in that mountain of like a metaphor. So like, yeah, but no.
My passion, dude, is playing with other people's shit. So I got into apprenticeship. You know what? And now I'm a plumber, dog. There's something about that scat play and that fecal matter. I just love it.
The one that is the weirdest that I loved the most is still Joggling. I think this is season 2 with Colin Bevis. This was season 2, episode 28. Joggling, which is the the collision of juggling while jogging, where he was planning on doing, I think he had done like a 5K and was planning to do a 10K or something like that. But having somebody be so passionate about something that I had no idea exists, tracks, but was also just so amazing to get to like be introduced to something that's like, I understand what both of them are. I understand doing them together, sort of, but then hearing somebody be so excited about it, and then also to top it off is he has one of the most not peeves, but that is like phenomenal in how like jazzed and excited he was about it. So that really carried it through. Just made it one of the most unique episodes. Do you remember his like in quotes peeve? He's like hyper defendant of episode 1 of Star Wars. Of how it was like a great movie and how Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be like the secret like Sith Lord and all this.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Just wild fucking fanfic logic that I just ate for lunch. It was so amazingly silly, but like he was adamant about it. Game respect game, you know. So well, he had strong, detailed, crazy man theory, and I loved it.
Just picturing that meme of like the guy standing in front of a board, like strings going everywhere.
Yeah, it's was it Charlie from It's Always Sunny? Just be like taking a hit off of like a nearly burnt cigarette and just like strings going everywhere. Talking about the mailroom. It's fucking amazing.
I am a joggler. That is someone who juggles while they run. And
obviously,
yes.
Everybody knows this.
In fact, when
common thing in our country,
it's very, very common. When I say the word, most people think they heard one or the other jogger or juggler. And
do you get any gesundheits?
Yeah, people. Yeah, so basically, yes, all the time. Like this guy, what did he just say? It is a real passion of mine. So I got to talk earlier about Dr. Don Rapp and how much juggling means to me. As a high schooler who was already starting to teach other people how to juggle, I was outside in the summer one day, just in one of the fields at the camp that I was working at. And it was the afternoon, and I was juggling, and it just like occurred to me that I had been looking, this takes quite a long time of juggling. You're looking at the juggling balls. Like you have to. That's you're aware of them and you're looking at them and you're desperately trying to catch them as you're learning how to juggle. And it occurred to me that I didn't have to look at the juggling balls directly anymore. I could just use peripheral vision. I could blur out that it was happening in front of me, and essentially read a sign that was about 20 yards away. Just like that's a large sign. I was like, wait, I could just like read that sign. It's like this moment, right? You're like, I could just like read while I'm juggling. And it sent off this, it is a level that a lot of people that juggle a bunch, you know, if you juggle a ton, you will reach this level someday. And it sets off a bunch of ideas of like, well, what could I do while I'm juggling?
I do remember another one that I really enjoyed was the girl who's talking about slacklining, Martina.
Oh, yeah.
On a technical side of things, it was not my favorite one to work on.
Okay.
But I've really liked the learning about slacklining and all that. It was, I did not know it was like a big thing. I thought it was like, oh, it's like a few people do it, or a thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was like there was a different word for a tightrope. I didn't know there was like equipment and different things and like setups you do for everything that goes into it. I thought it was just like, oh, you tie a rope to a pole and walk across it. Cool. I can, but there's like a lot. It's in depth and a huge community, and it's cool.
Yeah, that one was fascinating, and for her to like, there were like people and like they were professionals and shit about it. I was like, wait, what? And just being so transfixed on it is great.
Slacklining.
Beg your pardon.
Slacklining.
What that there be?
What that there be? What I'll tell you. So slacklining is, if you've ever seen at the park, people trying to balance between two trees on some webbing. That's a slackline. Like
A line that is neither taut nor on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. It's not like a it's not like a tight rope, because that is like solid. This one actually like wobbles, right? So you're trying to keep your balance and walk across it, and it's moving. Yeah.
Well, this show wouldn't be what it was without its other half. So to channel zones, we're gonna go over now to our favorite peeves that we remember, and the one that stands out to me the most is Sean Cadenese. I think it's. I need to figure out what season this is. Sean Cadenese. So this is episode 25 of season 1, talking about how much he did not like Peppa Pig. And it's so great. It's just so amazing having somebody that is the reason he doesn't like Peppa Pig is because he's subjected to it via his daughter, and he loves his daughter. He's such an understanding person who is so caring and considerate, but also fuck that cartoon. It just does not stand for it. I'm just like, dude, like of all things to get bent out by, it's Peppa Pig, and I'm just like, I love this. This is perfection. This is exactly what I need. Yeah, but I mean, like, this is like, I think this was one of the first ones in season 1 that I was like, yeah, this is what a preposterous peeve is.
This is the antithesis of this question.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, there's some of them that are also like, Colton hating swamps, my brother hating time travel and shows. Some of those make sense in different directions. I get it. But this one is just like, dude, chill out. No, fuck Peppa Pig. It's like, all right.
We almost needed to rename the show to Passionate Peeves. Every now and again, my brain says to me, I should make a parody of this called Preposterous People and Passionate Peeves, just to it wouldn't go anywhere. It'd just be funny. And I think that would be a really good candidate for Preposterous People. Or Passionate Peeves, I mean.
So Peppa Pig is just terrible. And I know that this is like, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to the stories that I'll read to the kiddo here at night, but like Peppa Pig is just like the TV show. I can say I've avoided it like successfully. I will, and at the same time, like the stories in the books, if the stories in the books are any indication of the TV show, I'm just like, why does this exist? Why did somebody pay money to produce this thing? And why did another person decide, hey, I will share this with the world in such a way that that it will influence children's lives? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And I realize that that's a harsh perspective on, a piece of media that was only trying to help, but it's just not.
What does it do that offends you so greatly?
So, do you remember the movie Elf?
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember what Buddy the Elf's biological dad does in the movie Elf?
Yeah, he creates like book. Like, is it kids' books? I know it's like
Yeah,
books,
yeah.
right?
He's a children's book publisher, right?
Mhm.
And there's this scene where he's getting chewed out by his supervisor because he has signed off on these pages in this kid's book, and the pages have nothing on them. Where the page is just blank and it's got his little signature on it, and he has created a book that has like not just an obvious break in continuity, but like just nothing for a page or two. And you know, his argument is that, well, they're kids, they're not going to care about story continuity or whatever, and whatever. And he still gets chewed out for it. I want to have that conversation with the creator of Peppa Pig. And it's not that the pages are blank, but some of them might as well be.
For all intents and purposes.
Yeah. The stories just, there's this one story in the book, and the kiddo loves it, and I'm just like, that's not how it works. And it's about building a house. It's about building a house where, like, Daddy Pig wants to build a house, and he says, we're going to build a house and someone else can live in it. And so first off, I'm like, well, so what you're telling me is Daddy Pig is this rent-seeking developer of real estate, and we really, like, that's the one problem of this here. But the other is that he goes to the contractors and he shows them a drawing of the house, and then they build the house. But the house is built literally the next day. And I'm like, no. I get that kids' stories need to suspend disbelief at some point because these are talking pigs, right? I get it. But a house built in a day, and then the family moves into it the next day, but at least they get that there's an inspection between the two. Like, they talk about the inspection of the house between the two. But I'm like, oh my God. It is infuriating.
It was clearly written by two people. There's just one person who's writing, all right, it's got to be down to code, there got to be inspection, and they move into it the next day. Yeah, sure, Timmy, they move into it the next day. Like a father-son duo wrote this book.
Oh, it's just, and it's this book of stories that has like several of these stories in it, and I'm just like, every one of them has these gaping plot holes that are just not, anyway. So Peppa Pig for me is one of those where I will endure the full meltdown of a child whining and crying, saying, "I want to read this for bedtime." I'm like, we will go without, or we will not really. We will find something else to read. But we will.
You looking to fight? Because I will fight you.
No, we will find something else to read. We'll find a different story.
What about you? Do you have any peeves that really stood out?
I think one of mine was season 3, episode 13 with Gambit.
Yeah.
He was like a tattoo artist or whatever. And people would come in and just, I'd like a tattoo.
Yeah.
Sure. What do you want? I don't know.
It's
Does
like,
this mean anything to you? No. Well, then.
It's like the people that walk to like the front of a line to order food, and they're like, oh, I'd like something. You're like, anything in particular? They're like, I don't know. Surprise me. You're like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, walk into Cheesecake Factory with like 150 menu items or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like, give me something. Like, I got nothing. We have so much different food for you, sir.
They don't make dice that big, sir. I can't randomly ascertain what I should bring you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me pull up my D150 for you. That'd be ridiculous. How would you even know which, like,
hold on,
number
is
got
that
rolled?
a thing?
I don't know. 150 Saigon? Probably not.
Hold on, I'm looking.
I want to know what the word is now.
There's 100. I can buy
do.
150 six-sided dice. That's a thing.
Well, that's
not exactly the same thing. I'm not seeing it on like going to Google Shopping. I have on my desk a 100-sided die.
that's a thing.
That is a thing. It looks like a golf ball.
It looks like 120 is the highest it goes.
All right. So no dice, sir.
What if I want to? Let me see if I can read this. Dysdiachous triacontahedron.
Bless you. That's my favorite thing to do whenever somebody says a word that's like, especially when they're unsure of it, is like "bless you" or "gesundheit" afterwards.
No, it's great.
It's such a dumb dad bit. I'm ready for a child to show up on my doorstep so I can make these jokes more aptly.
I'm looking at a picture of it. It just looks round. There's like nothing flat on it at all.
I mean, to be fair, the one I have, you have to have a very flat table for it to like land. If the table has a lilt to it, it will never stop.
It just keeps rolling. Yeah.
Oh yeah, rolling.
I'm home and I get the message, and it's that dreaded message. Hey, I want to get a tattoo. Cool, perfect. What do you want? I don't know. It's like, do you have any tattoos? Yes. But I want, those are black and gray, and I want something that's very colorful. Okay. Do you want flowers? No, I don't want flowers. I don't want flowers. Okay, so no flowers. Do you like animals? No animals. Okay. Do you like skulls? No, skulls are too horrible. Then I don't know what I'm going to do with you, you know? It's like, what do you want?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So if it's a customer in person, that I think that's why I don't do many consultations in person anymore. If it's a customer in person, I try not to show it because I don't want my customer to feel uncomfortable. So I have this nice poker face. No problem. We can figure that out. And I ask them a series of questions. But that's time that I could spend actually creating the design for you. If you come in with if you say, hey, I want a skull, and I want that skull to have a crown, and I want behind the skull to have like splatters of colors, like it's blood, but instead of blood, I want it to be in different colors. So now you're giving me something, and I can create with that. And that's it. It was like 3 sentences, and just let me do my thing with that description.
So my next favorite peeve was Brett Thompson talking about letting a pedestrian cross the street, which is, as a driver, especially in Los Angeles and previously in the Bay Area, yeah, like fucking go. Just like, I really, as a pedestrian, I don't like the stop for. So for those that aren't aware, I live in Koreatown, Los Angeles, and I have to park my car on the street, thus the absurdly expensive ticket. And I generally park about 3-4 blocks away from my apartment. And so I have to cross Olympic to get there, which is a pretty major street here in Los Angeles. And to do so, I basically play Frogger. There's an island in the middle, and there's usually traffic is either going kind of going slow enough, or there's enough of a gap in between, groupings of cars that I can jump 2 lanes over, wait, jump 2 lanes over, and then walk a block or 2 to my car. And the amount of times where I'm standing on the island just waiting patiently, I'm froggering, I've got this, and some lovable jackass will stop and wave me across. It's like, no, I'm fine. Just I'm doing my thing, and you're fucking up traffic, and now people are angry at you and kind of me because you're trying to do the, in quotes, nice thing. It's like, no, just drive. I got this. It's fine. If I wanted to get the go ahead, I would have walked a block or 2 down for the crosswalk. I didn't want that. I got it. Go. It's fine.
For me, I really enjoyed this one too. On the pedestrian side of things, I don't live in a huge city like LA or anything, but I will continue walking down the sidewalk, look back, and look each way on the road to see when there's as few cars coming as possible. And as soon as there's a good opening, I'll cross. And if there's a car coming and it looks like I'm about to cross, I will continue walking. Nope, you don't see me, I'm not crossing. As a driver, if I stop for you and you're trying to cross the road and then you wave me on, okay, first, that's annoying. I stop for you. Please just cross. It's fine.
Sure.
If you wave me on and then I go and then you cross the street behind me, that makes my blood boil.
Oh, really? Dude, we
it.
never should interact as pedestrian and driver. That's me all the time.
I don't know if I'd be that way in
walk
a big
right
city,
behind
though.
you. Sure.
Because like in like a 2-lane road, it's like a little bit different.
Sure.
But if it's like a 1-lane road, it's like I stop for you. Just cross, please.
Well, so we talked about this, and like honestly, I still don't even know if I explain it correctly, because if you don't explain it correctly, it very much makes you sound like a psycho and stuff. But in a large city, I fucking hate it when people will see me at the side of a street and they will stop in the middle of what seems like a pretty trafficked area.
Yeah.
And then they will wait for me to go across.
Yeah.
And then they will start to like motion me if somebody honks at me.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, don't pound the fucking hood. But like I spent so much time in like Chicago and New York that like there's a rhythm in a large city, and I came from rural, and I dislike a lot of, and not dislike, but I mean, it just, I tend to stray away from things that feel rural or whatever. So I like the aspect of like the hustle and bustle of a city or whatever. And there's like a cadence to like cities like New York that doesn't sleep or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a school of fish. Everything's moving around. They're doing their own thing. And it's your job as the other fish to be like, what are the other fish doing?
Yeah.
I'll get in where I fit in, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody makes me some type of weird example and fucking stops up traffic, and then I hear like other people honking behind this person, I'm like, I didn't want this. I'm not the one who wanted this.
Why am I being held accountable for this asshole?
Yeah, and like I always
niceties.
think like somebody's gonna maybe fucking rear end the guy that stopped for me because like they're stopping awkward. Like sometimes I'll just like when I see somebody stop, I'll just like turn around and like look at a tree and like mosey around and just try. I'm like, no, I'm not. This isn't for you.
Yeah,
this is and I don't know why it gets my goat so much too.
Do you ever get in that weird like they motion you and you're like, no, go?
Oh, absolutely. Do I ever like it's yeah, any pedestrian moment I pretty much have in LA. And like and it's funny because
any others in the peeve canon?
Yeah. This wasn't the start of me thinking this way, but I'm glad I'm not the only one. It was Joe Badial. Oh fuck, I'm butchering his name. Season 3, episode 2, Joe B.
Joe Badiali.
Badiali. It was could care less versus couldn't care less. And it's like you couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Because you're saying you don't like this and you don't care. You could not, like, there's no care left that you have.
Yeah.
But everyone says couldn't or could care less. It's like, oh, so you do care. It's like,
yeah.
No.
It's also like it's also saying nothing.
Yeah.
Like it like saying I could care less leaves an enormous spectrum of what that means. It's basically not having a response. It's like the equivalent of like shrugging your shoulders or something. It's just like it's near ambivalence, where I couldn't care less means that like it's informative of like what your position is, of being like, yeah, there's literally no less that I could care about this. Yeah. I am at the base of my give a shit, and like there is no more room for me to care less. No, that was a great one to have as well.
It also like it sparks this thought process or train of thought in my head. You know when you ask someone, "Hey, what do you think about this?" and they go, "Oh, it's not my favorite." That those words say you like it, but there's something you like more.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you don't like it at all. Like, for example, let's go with Star Wars because it's easy and everyone knows it. Do you like Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back? Like, yeah, it's not my favorite, but I like it. Oh, what is your favorite? Episode 6. I like the Ewoks or whatever.
Sure.
So episode 6 is my favorite. Oh, so you don't like episode 5. It's like, that's not what I said. I said it's just not my favorite. But it sounds like it's not. Like you don't like it. And it's like, these words that I'm saying, you're not listening to them. It's just like couldn't care less things. Like, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Oh, I forgot we haven't done that yet. I have a laundry list of these, but off the top of my head, I must give it to something that seems so asinine, but it's when somebody says, I could care less. I could care less about that. What they should be saying is, I couldn't care less because then you couldn't possibly care less, meaning you don't care at all, not one iota. If you could care less, you in fact do care a little. And when people say this thing, they're trying to act all tough and I could care less about that. And to me, they just sound so stupid. And I'm sure you can hear me, like my blood's boiling right now. And this happens all the time. And even if I'm watching a movie and someone says it, I'm like, like
how cathartic is it when you watch a movie and somebody says that and then your kind of stand and goes, don't you mean, and like corrects them?
I don't know that that's happened yet, but I will say it's quite cathartic when someone says it correctly, because it's like time slows down for me, you know. They'll be like, I could, and my blood starts boiling right there, and then they say, care less. I'm like, oh, thank God. My man right there. He says, right, that's a tough dude right there. Because he couldn't possibly care less.
My favorite one, and this was, I'm glad it happened. I wish it happened earlier, because I think it is just so indicative, is episode 12, Theo Jung. His peeve was people eating whole pickles, which I'm just like, awesome. Like, I remember him messaging me. He goes, I don't know if this is going to play. And then messages me, like, his peeve is like eating whole pickles. I'm like, that is exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah. Just like, it doesn't need it. It's best when it makes literally no sense. You're just like, I don't know why. Fuck this. It bothers the shit out of me. It's like, yeah. Why does eating whole pickles bother Theo? He doesn't know, but he knows it bothers him. I'm like, love it.
Yeah, if everyone thought the same way, it's not preposterous.
Yeah. So
no,
fantastic.
That was great. Was there any talk in that episode about being in Disneyland where they sell those giant whole pickles? Because I feel like that'd be a nightmare for him. That would be a nightmare for him.
I didn't realize they did that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I should take a picture when I'm down in Disneyland
too.
next week. I'm gonna be down in Disneyland. I'll have to take a picture and send it to him and just like have
you
him
should
freaking
definitely
fuck out.
Like take a picture of you biting one. Like, so good. Yum yum. He'd be like, I hate you.
All right, I've been waiting for this. My preposterous peeve. It's pretty preposterous. It's when people eat a whole pickle in front of me. Not like pickle slices, not pickles on a sandwich, but like a whole ass pickle just in front of me.
Just chomping.
Yeah. It makes no sense because I don't even hate pickles that much. Like I eat pickled red onions or like other types of pickles. Like I don't really enjoy cucumber pickles that much, but I'll eat like, or carrot daikon pickles on like a banh mi. You ever have one of those?
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. But cucumber pickles, not a huge fan, but yeah, but just when someone eats a whole pickle in front of me, it just kind of grosses me out.
Any more peeves for you that really stood out over our 10-year or 3-year?
I'm looking at our list. I do remember the conversation about cheersing. It was season 2, episode 3 with Stapes.
Yeah.
It's like, you're passionate about it. I get it. You hate it a lot. I get it.
I wasn't there for this, but I remember I was looking back through and I remember seeing that one. And the weird thing is I don't remember that episode or that part of the episode. I'm sure like if I heard it, I would immediately like transported back to when we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am reminded of is there was a coworker I had when I lived up in Humboldt County working at the casino who apparently after like, I want to say it was either a Christmas party or whatever, like a house party up there with a lot of casino employees. They're out drinking or what have you, and one of them goes, "Oh, let's cheers, or let's do cheersing or something," and he lost his fucking shit about it, and was like, "That's not what it fucking is," and just like went on like a 20-minute diatribe, drunk out of his mind at whatever hour in the morning, just educating this, daft employee who in their inebriated state erroneously made this error, and it just like fucking destroyed their whole planet.
Yeah, like that's the it goes back to the you don't know why it bugs you,
Yeah.
but like it does.
Well, I mean, it's grammatically
And it's grammatical,
correct.
yeah, too.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't like irritate you the most. It shouldn't irritate most people.
Yeah.
That much.
You know how you may remember this from back in the day. This peeve hasn't changed. Back in Huff and Staves, one of my bits, one of my pet peeves was this really is such a bummer too. It really brings people down. I don't even know why. So cheers. Okay, so when you give a toast and you say, "All right, to the class of 2024," and you clink your glasses, that is called a toast. That's called giving a toast to the bride and groom. That's a toast. My preposterous pet peeve is when people call that making a cheers, doing a cheers, cheersing. Hey, let's cheers to this. Cheers is not a verb. Toast is a verb. You're toasting. Cheers is an exclamation. It is what you say when you toast. So no one ever says like, "Oh man, I can't be around fucking black pepper. Black pepper makes me achoo." I got some black pepper up my nose the other day. I chewed for the next 45 seconds straight. No, you didn't achoo. You sneezed. You sneezed. You did. Achoo is what you say when you sneeze.
Yeah.
Cheers is what you say when you toast. So what happens is people are like, "Hey, let's do a cheers," and then my girlfriend will look at me at the party and she'll be like, "Don't fucking say anything." And I'll be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do it." And then everyone will be like, "Come on, we're doing a cheers. We're cheersing. Everyone, there's a cheers. We're about to make a cheers. A cheers is happening. We're cheersing. We're cheersing." And I'm just like, and she's just like trying to like grab me by the hand, and I'm like, "No, we're not cheersing. There's no such thing as cheersing. We're doing a toast. Would you like to say cheers during the toast? That's great. We're not cheersing. We're toasting."
All right. Well, moving on. I have a couple of these bookmarked. I don't know if you were able to remember any, but favorite stories that kind of came through the pipeline. The one that always going to stand out for me, especially considering I am currently working on a project with the man, which I am delighted to be doing so, which, you know, keep your eyes glued to my Twitter account at like Ikes, and you will be informed moving forward of any and all progress on this project. But Brian David Marshall, which was episode 49 of season 1, got to talk about being chased by, I'm trying to remember the name of the comic book artist, but he was like chased by a comic book artist with a turkey leg at a Christmas party for taking his picture. And it's one of my fucking favorite ones of all time. Just the idea, because I think this is also like when Brian was like late teens, early 20s or something like that. He's just like basically a kid. You know, they just give him this camera, like, "All right, take pictures of people," and they didn't tell him, like, "Oh, except this guy who's notoriously like hates having his picture taken and was nearly run down by a turkey leg." And who then destroyed his film and then just like patted him on the head and like walked about the party like nothing had happened. It's fucking amazing.
I also got chased by Steve Ditko with a chicken leg at this point in my comic career.
All right, no. We're doing a double feature. How does that happen?
So Steve Ditko was pretty libertarian before that was even like a trendy word. He was just like this really weird, very, very individual guy. He did not sign anything. He did not like to have his photograph taken. And was just really peculiar. And for some reason, you know, he had done some work for the first issue of Thunder Agents, which all happened before I came on board with the company. But at the party for the first issue, which I was at, he attended, which was bizarre, right? Like, you know, not something he would normally do, but people were really excited. It's like, "Oh, there's Steve Ditko. Oh my God. You know, and I was basically given like, you know, some 35mm camera and like, "Hey, take pictures of who's here, document this." And I tried to take a picture of Steve Ditko. and he
Were you not
grabbed-
knowing at the time, or were
not
you
knowing? Nope, not knowing. And he grabbed the chicken leg and started chasing me until he cornered me, got the camera, opened it up, and like exposed the film because he doesn't like to have his picture taken.
Wow, that's so. Just picks it up like a cudgel and starts chasing you like a cave troll. Fantastic.
Yeah. Very nice guy, though. Other than that, he was actually very pleasant to me in all my other
Just don't
interactions.
get him around the Poyo, and you'll be fine. Well, hopefully you're able to find these ones, because the next one is I don't know if this one was said before the recording or on a break or anything, but Brett Thompson, as we've discussed earlier, had an episode. So Brett was season 2. So this has been episode 25. And I hope it was said on the podcast, but he was telling me a story about how he played catch with Mel Brooks on the like Warner Brothers lot or some shit.
I remember that story.
Okay, so he definitely told on here then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's just like, they're just like fucking killing time in between production or whatever, and just throwing, a football around in front of the offices, and then Mel Brooks just rolls up, walks to the door, stops, and then just gives the like throw it here sign. Well, Brett has the ball. Brett's like, this is not fucking happening. Fucking awesome. Such a little ditty, but like so fucking cool. And also, I mean, partially that's because I'm a huge fan of Mel Brooks. I think he's like one of the coolest to have ever done it. So that was awesome.
I did have a catch with Mel Brooks one time. like a football catch. Yeah, I threw a football with Mel Brooks one time.
Dude, you can't just like say that and like move on. So
I don't even know why I brought that one up.
I'm glad you did, but
so like so my first big job here in Hollywood, as far as like I got to be in entertainment like I wanted, was I was a PA on Cougar Town on season 3, and that was shot down at Culver City Studios.
Yep.
And at the time, Mel Brooks still had like his original office in what they called like the manor or something. It was like, it's the big mansion, or maybe it was called the mansion, but it was like at the very head of it. And it was a thing that you could see from Culver Boulevard and stuff, and it was more for ceremony, but there was like some office buildings in there. And Mel Brooks's wing was on there basically. Right. And then in the front, it was like, don't even think about it, partner. Mel Brooks, like, he's like a goofy little sign. It was like, this is where Mel Brooks parks, kind of thing. And we're like, that's super awesome. We'd been all through there. We'd never seen him. And then for whatever reason, one day, it's like me and like 2 other buddies, like the guy that's my writing partner now, is like, we're playing fucking football on the lawn. And then Mel Brooks fucking pulls up and parks. And then he gets out. And I remember literally getting hit in the side of the fucking head. Like we're all playing. But we all stopped, right? So the ball hits me in the head and we just stop. And then it's just this magic kind of moment where he's like, he's walking a little slow, but like he gets out of his car and he's going to walk up to the front door, and he looks at us and he stops, realizes like it's just us 3 on this lawn. It's just us and Mel Brooks. And he waves to us and we're like, okay. We awkwardly wave back. And then he gives us like the throw sign, right? And we're like, get the fuck out of here, right? He gives us like the slinging the cylinder kind of thing. Yeah. We're like, what? So we get kind of closer because I don't want to knock Mel Brooks over, right? And I give him a softball, and he throws a ball back to us, right? And Mel Brooks is like 82. And Jermond, I don't know why, but if you ever listen to this, Mel Brooks threw a better fucking spiral than you, bro. And he was old as sin. And I mean, I always said you should have been an NFL tight end, but you missed the call if you can't throw a better ball than Mel Brooks. That's totally an inside joke for one person. But it was a crazy moment, man. And like, I think that's what you're probably talking about.
And last is kind of pretty recently, which is Jeremy Garcia. This has been like season 3 episode, was it 40? I knew that Jeremy was straight edge. I didn't realize he was this straight edge. It was that he's out at some work function when he worked at like some modeling or some clothing agency where he had previously modeled for a hot second. And the owner of the company tried to pay him to drink a shot, knowing that he was straight edge, and was offered like $50,000 or $100,000, which wouldn't buy Jeremy his or the car that he wanted, and so he's like, "Yeah, no deal," which is so fucking metal. Like, I mad respect. That much money at most points in my life, I'm gonna do something that I probably wouldn't have done, assuming it's of the same like legal nature as like having a shot of alcohol.
Yeah.
But just be like, yeah, I mean, it's not gonna buy me an Aston Martin, whatever. I'm gonna pass. It's fucking rad.
Like, I stick to your guns, man. But
So
man,
much
the amount of
respect.
I couldn't do that. $50,000 for
Yeah,
something
it's
that'll
either
take 10
50,000 or
seconds with no
100,000.
recourse.
Yeah. And he's like, nope. I'm like, dude, props.
Mad respect. Yeah.
Also happened at Marc Jacobs. Surprise, surprise.
All good things happen at Marc Jacobs.
It was like a crazy place to work. Like, it was super fun, but like my coworkers were insane. But every time the owner would come into town, this isn't Marc Jacobs. This is a guy named Robert Duffy, who was the guy who found Marc Jacobs. So he like found Marc Jacobs at Parsons, put all the money into him, and like they became partners, like business partners.
Yeah.
And so he would like to come to stores and like kind of just check on everything, and they do swap out Windows displays and whatnot. But every time he'd come into town, it was like, oh, okay, we're going to dinner here, we're going to dinner there. So we'd shut down the store early, and everyone had to go home, get like dressed up, and then go to dinner. So there was a time where we were at Chateau Marmont, and so we rented out like half of the Chateau Marmont dining space. So it's all us. Everyone's drinking. I'm like, but like nobody at Chateau security wise like cares what we do, because they just pump whatever money. If something gets broken, they just take care of it. So it's like,
yeah,
it's crazy. I'm like, these people are crazy rich. I was like, if the owner ever wanted to like get rid of my body, like no one would even know I was gone. Like, it was wild. So we're there, and like the prior like dinner we had, like he found out I was straight edge. We had a big conversation, blah blah blah. And then this dinner, he's got like a cash case with him that he usually always has. And at the end of the dinner, everyone's been drinking and everything. He's like, Jeremy, come over here. I'm like, okay, what's up, Robert? And he's like, I'll give you $100,000 cash if you take this shot of tequila. And I was like, bullshit. Show me the cash. Fucking opens this case. Everyone at the table just goes silent. And I was like, fuck, man. And I had been straight edge for like 15 years at the time, I think now, or then. And I was just like, I'm good. I was like, because at the time I based everything off of like, will this buy me an Aston Martin DB9 straight out from a dealership? So that's my mindset at 24, 25.
That's so sick. So in season 1, we had the underutilized words category. It was only for season 1. Some of my favorites of that one were caterwaul, cattywampus, and decimate. Partially because, and this was kind of like fit under almost like a peeve, was for my friend Andrew Murch, decimate is used wrong, which I didn't realize that, but that's partially because I didn't know the exacting definition of the word decimate, which is to destroy a tenth of something. Deci.
Yeah, you think decimate's like, oh, completely destroy.
Yeah.
It's like, no. You've completely destroyed a tenth of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like kill 1 in every 10. Which is interesting because, I mean, he's right and he's wrong, because the current definition, the first definition is to kill, destroy, or remove a large percentage or part of.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, 10% of something is a lot. In like, I mean, you know, if we killed 10% of humans, you know,
yeah.
nearly 1 billion people, so that'd be a lot. But the way it's always talked about is as if it's like, you know, oh, you decimated him. You would assume you destroyed like 50% or, you know, more of his holdings or whatever. It's like, no, just a tenth.
Also, kind of the one thing that comes to my mind is like, oh, you chop it into like 10 pieces.
Yeah.
You cut into 10. But
Caterwaul and Cattywampus. I now looking at my choices for underutilized words, it's kind of funny because they do sound sort of similar, but are you know, different in a way. Caterwaul being, you know, like you think of a cat, or I think of a cat just, you know, making a racket in the middle of the night. You know, you just hear him in the alley just meowing. It's like that's caterwauling. Like Cattywampus is, you know, something being askew or, you know, it's not quite right.
Yeah, like kind of leaning on edge.
Yeah. Any underutilized words that stuck out to you over our first tenure?
It's interesting hearing like not a new word, but possibly a new word once, and then like you start hearing it more and more, like randomly. For me, like vicariously was one. It's kind of a cool word.
Yeah.
Indubitably
Always makes me think of that Tool song though.
Yeah, it does. Indubitably is really fun to say, and I don't think I've ever heard it in like normal speech. There's one person I knew that would use it. It was always at like the end, like, "Oh, can I get this for you?" It's like, indubitably. Okay, you're so fancy. I'm like, I love the word kerfluffle.
Do you mean kerfuffle?
Kerfuffle, yeah. I like kerfluffle better. No, but kerfuffle, yeah.
Oh, you added a second L.
You don't like kerfluffle? And the emphasis on kerfluffle, on the fluff part
yes,
of it?
please bring in the maids and have them kerfluffle my...
I would like my pillow kerfluffled, please. Oh, there's another one on here. Ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I don't think... I think I've always heard it wrong as ag with a G, not a D.
Yeah.
Like ag nauseum. So I don't know if that's me hearing wrong or people saying it wrong.
Probably people saying it wrong.
Probably people saying it wrong. People say a lot of things wrong.
They do.
Nuclear. There's a preposterous peeve of... I don't know if it's preposterous, but a peeve of mine. People say nuclear instead of nuclear.
So that like K sound, that it's like...
Because
say the two again.
Nuclear and nuclear. They put like a
nuclear.
Yeah.
Versus nuclear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like a nuclear bomb. It's not a nuclear bomb. It's a nuclear bomb. You know when you say a word like 10 times in a row, it stops sounding like a word. It's almost getting to that point.
Well, so that doesn't happen to you. Well, let's move on to the next one because after season 1, we switched over more to minced oaths, which somebody informed me that was the term, and I changed it, but I don't remember who did that. Which really bugs me because somebody gave me that awesome terminology, and I don't know who to attribute that to. So if you're hearing this and it was you, I apologize. I forgot.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Do hit me up on Twitter at Like Ike. So love to know and, you know, correctly attribute. That is one of my favorite ones that we added, and it was just so much fun to hear the times, especially, you know, growing up in a Christian country, the amount of times people had to like say something in a way to not, you know, get their hand slapped by Mima or whoever, and it's just so funny. My first one got thrown there was Gormless Rube. It's just so hilarious. This freaking Peter Day hitting with a Gormless Rube is just so damn funny.
I remember growing up, we never like swore. It was never like, I don't remember being told, "Hey, don't swear, it's bad."
Yeah.
But like my parents never did, and even now, my mom has started to swear more, and it's weird hearing it. So like she'll say "fuck" every once in a while. I'm like, oh my god, what? It must be a big deal.
Go
like,
down.
I remember always like saying "heck" and like "fudge." if I needed to say anything when I was growing up. But
one of my favorite moments, that in the moment I was scandalized because I was getting in trouble, but growing up, I grew up in rural Nevada, and so it was very much that like kind of don't say bad things around the adults or even some of the kids.
Mhm.
And I had on the bus said hell. I don't even remember the context was. And I got in trouble, and my parents had to come meet with some, like, the bus driver or some shit. It was weird.
Dang.
And I was like, what happened? They're like, well, your child said HE double hockey sticks. I'm like, huh? And my dad's just like, you said hell. I was like, okay. Like, it's
Cool.
Grew up
Whatever.
listening to the Bible, and so like the word hell, it didn't have like a super like negative connotation to me. It was just it was a bad place, but it wasn't like, don't say that word. It was like, yeah, it's a place that bad people go. Like, woof.
Yeah, it's also a city in what, Oregon, I think.
Oh, is it?
No, it's Bend. There's a city called Hell somewhere. I forget where it is.
Okay, so
what, are there more than
there
one?
is a town in Michigan called Hell, a location in California called Hell, and then a village in Norway called Hell. Bizarre.
I feel like they should call Phoenix, Arizona Hell, but you know.
The Hell has a population of 266.
We got to pump that up by like 400.
Yeah.
And it can never change.
Yeah. Nobody's allowed to die. But yeah, it's just like that one was like such a a random scandalous phrase.
I remember in like middle school, HE double hockey sticks was like the way everyone would say it. It's like, I don't know if you're trying to be cool or like trying to get away with it, but I remember HE double hockey sticks was said not a lot, but often enough to remember.
More than it ought to have been.
Yeah. Because it doesn't fit in a sentence. Like, oh, go to HE double hockey sticks. Like, that doesn't really feel the same as go to hell.
doesn't have quite the pizzazz.
And hell never felt like a bad word in my growing up.
Yeah.
It's just like
saying somebody should go to hell is definitely rude. Like, that that you're being an asshole. But like, yeah.
I can't think of them, but I'm sure there are way worse things you could tell someone or places to tell someone to go.
Pick a city in Ohio. Next up on the minced O's that I love was bozo. I don't know why. It's like, it's so inoffensive that it's offensive. I'd be like,
it's so simple.
Bozo. It's like, if you like sit and like let it marinate for a second, it offends. Like
yeah,
it's like low key very offensive. It just has that term. It just sounds like a clown's name, so it just doesn't ring like off the bat. It doesn't come across that way, but it's just like you went to a special place to find bozo to call me that, and I think I should take a lot of offense at that, actually.
Yeah, that's like, it doesn't sound as bad as it is, and it should feel worse than it does.
It's like one of the other ones on my list is like calling somebody a Muppet. It's just like,
that one's phenomenal.
Hilarious, and then you're like, wait, that's pretty hurtful. This was actually from As of the Moment, or one of the last episodes. It was Christ on a Catapult. It's just, I think it's the alliteration. It just gets me.
Yeah, that's really good too. It's so visceral. Like, you can almost you don't immediately start picturing it, but like if you think about it for half a second, you're like, huh. It takes you somewhere. You got any more on your list?
No, that's all my minced O's. Do you have any?
I really love duck cake.
Yes.
I've never had like the baked duck cake. I'm sure that doesn't sound. I mean, I don't know if you're into ducks, but no, but it's so like staccato duck cake.
Yeah.
It's like, and if you heard that in like, I'm imagining you're like a cook in a restaurant or whatever, and you burn something like, duck cake, gotta make a new one, and everyone turns around, what did you just say? What, duck cake? You never heard duck cake before? I love it. I feel like this one kind of, I don't know if it speaks to me, but that's nice. Is depending on your intonation, changes dramatically. Like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Positive, caring, whatever. That's nice. Heavily sarcastic and, oh, sorry.
It is a banger, to be sure.
I love just going down our list and just reading some of these.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I made pretty early on a list of all the guest names, passion peeves, the songs, the artists, the albums, and then a couple other of like tidbits about whatever we were, kind of recording at the time. Usually social media, so that when producing this and putting this up, it was like a little bit easier and streamlined, and it has made it very easy to do this last episode. Just going down, like looking at all the things and having kind of like a memory tabulation to scroll through. It's been very fantastic.
Donut is also amazing. Thank you.
Calling somebody a donut is awesome. I think the more vanilla an object is like the better it is. Like calling somebody like a donut, like just the least amount of syllables and the more basic the object is. Like, I mean, turkey is another good one. That one has like a little bit of a like, a different time connotation, but calling somebody like you could call them like a cup, I think is a little too few of a sound, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, donut is just the way it flows off the tongue.
Yeah.
And it's sharp at the beginning and end, but soft in the middle. Like the way it sounds is just so pleasing, and you know exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't mean anything.
It's like calling somebody like like lasagna is a little. It's got a little bit too much.
Lasagna.
But yeah, like it's kind of up there with like saying somebody's as useful as a blank as like somehow the same in my brain as calling someone a donut, except this is so much more succinct. It's just perfection. So as the show went, we shall go. The last one is the lightning round. And again, I'm returning to Greg Hatch. Favorite lightning round question, I think still is, do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them? Which I remember this was one of those first times where, and it was interesting to see moving forward how much different our guests were. There wasn't as many as I thought would kind of agree with me and Hatch, because Hatch and I are on the same page that we believe we just listen to them. We believe that we're just, like, it's almost like our brain is a room and sometimes other people say shit. But a lot of guests were like, no, I create them. All right. Not saying you're wrong, but that's not been my experience at all. The amount of times where just like something happens like without any seeming provocation, or I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm thinking this now. Like, the fuck happened? What's your while we're going down these? I'm kind of curious, as we haven't gotten a chance to ruminate on them much frequently as ever. Well, do you feel like you create your own thoughts, or do you just listen to them?
It's funny. Going almost every episode editing, I would like answer this to myself too, and sometimes most of them stay the same, but sometimes they would change. I don't know if I like the idea that someone else has had some of the weird fucking thoughts that I had, or someone put like them in my head.
Yeah,
but fuck, I don't remember what I would answer. I don't know I don't remember my answer. I don't know if I've ever answered this one because like,
no,
it's too like existential. And it also kind of goes into, are you in charge of your own like life, or are you just following a path? It's like it's very similar to that question. I like to think I create my own thoughts. I don't really like the idea of someone else putting in my head.
Well, it's not somebody else, it's you, but it's not conscious you. That's the way I looked at it. I didn't think I was being like incepted or anything weird, but
I interpret it as like a higher power is like, here, think this now.
oh, that's interesting. No, I kind of was of the. I'd be kind of curious now. I kind of want to reach out to Hatch and see what he thinks. But it was kind of like a different. It's not the conscious you that's creating the thought; it's a subconscious you.
Oh,
Or, like however you like to perceive the universe, I suppose. But to me, it was my unconscious self kind of coming up with these thoughts, or the non-present, the subconscious kind of being like, "Here you go," and it was like, "Fucking turtles with butterfly wings? What the fuck?" Like I have shit to do.
I mean, the answer to the question is probably a bit of both, subconscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
Not subconscious and conscious. I said subconscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean what you know.
I mean,
as my coworker used to say.
So yeah, it's probably more subconscious then. And so that'd be probably just listening to him then in that context.
The next one I had was it was like really early on too. It was like 4th or 5th episode was Colton's Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body, or Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body. And it became Colton, I hope you're hearing this. It became the stand-in for an example of what a good lightning round question was do you believe in God was the first one, if you want to be serious, or if you want to be silly, like go to the max. And then like Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body, or Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body was the other example, which I stand by. Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body would be fucking hilarious. Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body would be just unsettling, because I find Shakira to be very attractive. Her hips don't lie, but it would be hard for me to continue having that opinion, hearing her speak like Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
It would just be like, fucking
also
my brain is confused.
I love the idea of seeing Danny DeVito go on like America's Got Talent and just fucking bust out.
My hips don't lie. The guests are like, whoa!
What the fuck? Where did this come from?
I just didn't know where to use my talent. This one is the only one on this list that I have that I put in, which is, did you ever cheat on a test in school? Which I love how many people answered yes. That was kind of cathartic, because
there's a lot more than I thought it was going to be.
There's a lot more than I thought it was. I don't think I've ever technically cheated on a test in school, but I definitely have cheated on like projects. So 100% I answered yes on that one. But it was interesting, and there was a couple people that were like off the record yes, but don't put that in, which is very peculiar. But that one was fascinating. Have you ever cheated on a test in school?
So I've cheated on one test in middle school, and it was.
What'd you do?
It was super fucking stupid. It was like a 5-question. It wasn't really a test. It was like a quiz. It was like the beginning of each class we had this little Quizlet or whatever. And so my friend had the class before me, and I had it like after him. And so he tried to remember was the day before? I don't remember. So he tried to remember the question, and it was the fucking stupidest part about it. It was open note, okay? So he wrote down what he could remember of the question, and I would like remember write down the answer on my note card so I could put that on the test. I didn't fill out the note card with a bunch of like notes to hide it or anything. So it was just 3 or 5 answers to the questions. I failed the test. And then they found out I cheated on it.
Oh, double dagger.
So I was like, yeah, that was useless. And I got in trouble for this. Cool. Never.
All the L's.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Never did it again.
Yeah. Scarred
One,
for life.
because of Scarred. 2, I really didn't care about school at that point. So I was like, fuck it. Oh, man.
The next one, I've actually used this in dating, like repartee, as something that as like what the kind of questions and like what I like to talk about, just like in casual hangouts. Be like, this is the kind of person I am. Is bees? I think it's from season 3. Bees are hot dogs tacos. Big fan of this conversation because there is no right answer. There's just, like looking at it, perception, like goofy theory crafting. Also, one odd fun fact is the amount of times that I think I use this as another good example of a good lightning round question, and people got confused on the questionnaire and would answer it, but they would misunderstand, like, are hot dog tacos? Like, and like they would think it's like, do hot dog tacos exist? And they would say, no, hot dog tacos aren't real. Hot dogs are real. Hot tacos are real, but not hot dog tacos. And I was like,
like, I like it, but that's not what I'm asking you for.
That's literally not the question, but I like where your head's at. But it's been it's been a running part of my not questionnaire, but just like a TLDR of like, know what you're getting into by accepting this dating request. So far it hasn't backfired yet, but I'm sure it's gonna weed out somebody one of these days.
For the record, I believe hot dogs are tacos.
Your hot dogs are tacos. I respect that answer.
And I think there was a similar question, or the question started out as like, are hot dogs sandwiches?
So I've heard that one before too. I would say it, like, I think all the answers are correct. It just depends how you want to fight for them, right?
I don't think a hot dog is a sandwich, though.
Why is the hot dog not a sandwich?
Because you eat it like so it's open up. Whereas then that's how it's supposed to be eaten. Because if you open on its side, everything falls out. Whereas like a sandwich.
So what if somebody turned the hot dog sideways and ate it? Would they be eating it as a sandwich?
Well, everything would fall out, but yeah, then it'd be eating it as a sandwich.
Be an empty sandwich, but a sandwich all the same.
I think it was the first few times you asked that question, and I don't remember which episode it was. But you made a mistake, and I kept a recording of it. So you asked,
"Are soups sandwiches?"
Are soups sandwiches? No.
Well, sorry. I literally, all right. Richard, my editor, I apologize. You're going to have to refix that a little bit.
And it fucking sent me.
So there was a time where I had one that was, are soups shakes or something like that?
Or soup smoothies, I think.
Smoothies.
And then, yeah, and then some other questions.
But I gaffed a couple episodes and said, are soup sandwiches?
It was
awesome.
Hilarious, and I'll put it in because
God,
I meant to send it to you, but like I keep forgetting.
So fucking hilarious. Wow. What was that like? Did people like just run with the bit? Like, sure, yes, no, and just like roll on?
No, you immediately corrected yourself.
Oh, cool.
So like it didn't make it in the episode. No one knew about it. Your guest probably knew about it, but like no one else.
Okay. And it's like I re-recorded. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
You were like, are soup sandwiches? Are hot dog or whatever the fuck, then you immediately said the right question.
Yeah, our soup smoothies,
yeah.
Which on that are soup smoothies?
Oh no.
Because a tomato is a fruit.
Yeah. But you don't put it in a fruit salad. And apparently is it taxonomy?
Yeah.
Taxonomically speaking.
Taxonomically speaking. Fuck it. Yes.
Yeah, whatever that is. There's no such thing as a fruit in nature. They're all vegetables. I read that.
Wait, what?
Like fruits aren't actually they're like classified as vegetables.
That's awesome.
But I could be wrong with that. I read it on the internet, so.
The last one I have for favorite lightning question is: do people who prefer Pepsi to Coke deserve human rights? Which fucking sent me. It's such a it's such a fucking absurd question. Obviously, they deserve human rights, but just the idea of asking
it's absurd.
It's so great. But I mean, that being said, Coke is just so much better than Pepsi. It's not
100%.
close.
Like, Pepsi's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But, like, if you go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, can I get Coke? And they're like, I went to this one place, right? And ordered a Coke, and they brought me a Pepsi. I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh, it's Pepsi. I'm like, well, if you guys said something, I wouldn't have ordered it.
Yeah.
I think that's happened with, like, Sprite and Sierra Mist also.
Do you have a strong preference on one of those?
Sprite's better. And I couldn't tell you why. They just taste a little bit different.
All right, so if they say you're out eating lunch, you go, hey, can I have a Coke? And they're like, oh, we have Pepsi. After you throw something at the waiter for them thinking it's the same thing, what is your next in line to order? If you're hoping for a Coke, they don't have a Coke. Do you just go to Sprite, or is there like another dark soda that you prefer?
Well, if they don't have Coke, it's probably like they're a Pepsi company, right?
Yeah.
So
well, let's say that they're not an anything company and they have like, there's out of Coke or some shit.
I'd probably go Sprite, then root beer.
Sprite, then root beer.
Yeah.
All right.
It kind of depends on the day and how I'm feeling.
So, valid. If I wanted Coke and they're out of Coke, I would ask, this is very bizarre, I would go wild cherry Pepsi, I think, and or Dr. Pepper. I think that's like the tiebreaker.
Okay.
And then root beer, and then I guess if that's what I'm feeling, maybe I'd like succumb to Pepsi, but Pepsi is a bit lower. Also, like, for those of you that are like, oh, but they did those taste test challenges, those things you can tell. Like, those are one of the easiest, like, if you have a palate that has ever had either, you can tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi. It's very fucking easy.
It's weird when they do those kinds of things, but they have, like, very different sodas.
Oh, when they have, like, the Safeway Select version and shit?
Or they'll do, like, this is Sprite, this is Dr. Pepper, this is Pepsi, this is Coke, this is root beer. And they're like, which one's which? It's like, well, that's fucking, they're all different. Like, and when they get it completely wrong and they're really confident about it, it's like, that's funny. I don't think.
I think the only one that I might have trouble telling between, depending upon the day, might be Mr. Pibb and Dr. Pepper, but even then, I think I could tell.
I don't think I could. I don't know if I've had Mr. Pibb recently enough.
It's been a long time since I've had Mr. Pibb, but I think I could. I don't know. Dr. Pepper is to Coke the way Pepsi is to Mr. Pibb.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Pibb is to Pepsi.
Do you have a root beer preference or like a hierarchy?
Yeah. So
Are you brave enough to say it out loud?
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to think it through. I would say it's probably like most of the like good, like if you go to a grocery store and they have like the 6-packs of root beer in the glass bottles, those are usually picked first because those are just better.
No doubt, 100%.
Thus they're expensive. But if we're going the ones that come in like a 2-liter bottle, those are the ones you're talking about, right? Like the kind of,
or out of like a fountain.
Yeah, I would say it's probably A&W's first by like a good margin. Trying to remember all the brands. So you've got A&W mugs,
Barks, Dads. Okay, the only time I've ever had Dads, this was like 15 years ago. When I lived on, actually it was more than that. When we lived on a ranch, we did like horse shows, and when my mom would get drinks that people could buy, and she'd always get Dad's root beer out of like It was like a 16 by 12 thing of dad's root beer and like a little cardboard thing. And that's what she got, because I think it's either all they had or the only ones they could get in big amounts. That's the only time I think I've ever had dad's root beers 20 years ago. So I do not remember what it tastes like.
So I think those are the three like major ones, but I would say it goes. Oh, there's also Barks.
Yeah, which I used to think it was Banks because I couldn't read cursive very well. So I was like, oh, the R is an N, right?
Sure,
sure.
I think I go A and W. I think I go AW. I'm not. Dad's is last. I'm not. It's been so long since I've had. I think it's A&W Mug, then Barks, then Dad's is probably the way I'd order it. But I could easily see having both Mug and Barks and flipping that. But I know A&W is number one. I don't know.
A&W is number one for sure. Yeah, I think 2 and 3 Mug and Barks.
You're still trying to say. You're still trying to say Banks.
It's still stuck in my head. Okay. Go to a restaurant. Hey, do you have any Banks root beer? Huh?
Yeah, Banksy, the one.
Banksy. It's really expensive.
The most expensive root beer you've ever had. Any lightning questions that you had that looking through our pantheon of lightning questions?
Is there a price for you to give? Is there a price for you to give up your passion forever? The answers surprise me sometimes. It's a yes for me.
How much would you have to get paid? So you're for those who forgotten, as he was like the second guest to ever come on the pod. And I believe you didn't have to edit your own podcast. I believe I think you had. I think I paid Josh to do that one. But your passion is flying, as you are an ace fighter pilot in training. You are. How many hours do you have in? How many hours do you have left? Or you
I need 1,500 total. I have about 700, so I need about 800 more.
And then what permit will that grant you? And what's your end goal kind of position or permit that you're looking for?
So my end goal is to fly for an airline. The 1,500 hours is the minimum you need to get your ATP license, airline transport pilot, so you can fly airlines.
And from there, you just have to work your way up to it, I presume?
From there, it's applying and getting hired at a place. You hit a little bit under that, like 1,300 hours, and you start applying to airlines, and then airline says, hey, we'll take you in. And then they do training in their airplane, and then you take the test to get the ATP license in their airplane.
That's great.
Is my understanding of it.
So how much, given how much time you've already put in, how much would somebody walks up with a duffel bag full of cash and certainty that he's not going to shoot you in the face. How much are you taking to the bank?
I think 5 million was my answer.
Seems like a reasonable answer.
Because it's not like you never can get a job again.
Yeah. I mean, 5 million, you don't need to get a job again.
No, it's like
assuming
good
you invest it correctly.
That,
yeah.
Or even
buy a house, mutual fund.
Yeah, buy a house cash, and then you don't have to pay a mortgage, and the rest of it's
I don't actually think that's true, but
well, not cash, but
no, but I think you have to pay a mortgage even after you buy a house outright.
Do you?
Right? I think I don't believe after you own a house outright that there are no costs.
Listen, this is way too much of a dream for our generation to owning a house, so I have not looked into that.
Sure. So 5 million. That's a very good answer. My number probably should be that or lower to give up Magic. I think it's actually annoyingly higher, even though Magic costs me money. It's not gonna. Lifetime has not made me money as much as I've had success in it. But I think
the big difference between your passion and mine is yours is a passion that you do for fun that gives you the occasional money. My passion is a thing that's going to be
predominantly
the main income.
financial. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you gave it up for a lot less money, it'd be less financially impactful than if I gave it up for money.
True.
Not that I'm saying it's worth less to you, but
no, that's a great way of putting it. So before we spend too long talking about nothing that'll ever happen, what's the next one? The next lightning question that you had in your bucket
would
of
you
awesome?
rather meet an extraterrestrial or a ghost?
This one's interesting. There's a bunch of if and or buts, I guess, but like, because they both open up a whole entire like dimension of intrigue, right?
Yeah, let's narrow it down for one aspect of it. Either way, they're friendly, and they're not gonna kill or maim you or harm you or anything.
No, for sure.
I'd rather meet an alien. There's a whole language barrier. There's a lot that goes into it, but I'd rather meet an alien.
Yeah, I think I'd rather meet a ghost. Just because it has left like less life-altering effects. Like meeting a ghost changes the way that we perceive the dead. I think meeting an extraterrestrial not only changes the way we perceive the universe, but also directly changes our universe, most likely. Like it changes our day to day. So it's like it's a lot. Huh?
I have a question for you then. Do you believe that there are aliens out there?
Yeah.
So for me, I want to say 100% there are. Like it's not a belief. It's like I know. It's like I know that I'm sitting at my desk. I know that there's aliens out there. You know.
Sure.
But like, yes, meeting a ghost would change like afterlife or what happens after life.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I can't really put into words. I just don't really care that much after death, even though it's dramatically important. But like, knowing and seeing like an alien just sounds so cool.
Sure.
And then my last one: tentacle arms or kangaroo legs. The answers are so much more divided than I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that are like kangaroo legs, and I'm like, okay. I do think tentacle arms are better.
I think tentacle arms are better. There's so many things that tentacle arms do. And also I think they're like grip strength and like there's a bunch of ostensible inherent value points. Also with kangaroo legs you can't back up.
Yeah, that's like a big contributing factor. Not that I walk backwards a lot.
Yeah, you
but
don't
like taking one step back in the kitchen,
yeah.
Not being able to do that, having to turn around every single time. Like,
but now you can jump really high.
Oh yeah, because you can run fast too. But
can kangaroos run fast? Or they get actually? You might not be able to run fast. You might have to like hop pretty quickly.
Oh, but they can hop faster than a human can run. But outside of getting to places faster, what benefit are kangaroo legs? I guess you could say the same thing about tentacle arms.
I mean, they are a lot faster. Holy shit! Kangaroos, like their average speed is 43 miles an hour.
That's pretty fast.
That is, they're cooking.
You could just like not drive to places. You do them. That'd be so weird. You're driving down the road and you see someone just hopping like next to you. The only thing tentacle arms would make worse is like anything that you use your fingers for. You no longer have fingers. It's like you can't type anything on the keyboard. I mean, you can, but it's like you're pecking everywhere.
I mean, yeah, but you have like it depends how they are attributed, right? If like you have 4 per arm, or if each arm is like 1 tentacle, or
you have one tentacle that goes into like a hand of 5 more tentacles.
Yeah, it'd be
It's like the same thing, just with
that,
candy. That'd be
definitely one of those things where you'd have to be like, show me what, like, if you were at the
Show me.
store,
Yeah.
show me what it would look like on me. Like, I want to try it out or whatever. You know, it's like, give me a
catalog, please.
Yeah, I'd like to take a gander, please.
I'd like to take a test drive of your finest
kangaroo legs.
tentacle arms and kangaroo legs, please. Thank you. Before we say goodbye, I have a few clips I'd like to share. The first wasn't highlighted today, but begged me for another listen, and the next two were just funny moments.
Clear your mind. Now, what thing comes to mind when I say underrated?
Potatoes.
Even though French fries are rampant all over this country, potatoes are underrated. Please
Okay,
do
but
expound.
like, when you look at a potato, right? I mean, it has a very humble look. It looks a lot like a rock that somebody pooped on. And it's just not very glamorous. A French fry feels like an entirely different beast. And potatoes have so much potentiality and so many things that they get along with. But when you just look at it, I mean, I guess maybe it looks like a lot of work because it hasn't blossomed into its, beautiful final swan form. But yeah, potatoes, they're really great. They're really tasty. There's so many different forms that am I starting to sound like Samwise Gamgee? Because I love potatoes.
You can cook them, boil them, put in a stew.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mood.
I just love the fact that you're like, they don't get what they deserve. Like it was some poor set of immigrant farmers that had done the work, and they really deserve to be noticed and given that what they were.
I mean, just the potato is very humble and doesn't get enough respect. You can get 10 pounds of potatoes for $5. That is crazy to me. It costs $5 for a handful of fries. What is happening here? They're the same thing.
In moments like that, what's your favorite non-traditional curse word to utter?
Cunt. For sure.
It's not exactly...
Wait, non-traditional?
Yeah, rip.
Oh.
Yeah.
Try me again. I'm not great with questions and logic.
We're gonna cut that out and redo that one, Richard. And everybody that's listening today, thank you so much. I am really appreciative of your balls.
My what?
Your balls. Your balls.
Lastly, before we get to Isaac's closer, I'd like to take a moment to say thanks. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. And a huge thank you to all the guests who have come on the show these past 3 years. It's been a wild ride. Thank you all for being a part of it.
Well, as we come to an end of this episode and the show, thanks for sticking all the way through this and enjoying our content. This has been really fun making it, having you guys listen to it in and out. Really appreciate our patron who has been with us for quite a while, Sabella Yellow, aka my mom. I'd say head on over to Patreon, but that's kind of not necessary anymore. So, thanks for being with us. This is obviously going to be the last episode. I haven't gotten information back, but this episode should be coming out either on the 19th or 26th of August. I do believe the last day to download things from Spotify and iTunes is probably going to be the 30th of August. So get on that if you have some favorite episodes. The content should remain on SoundCloud for at least a year, if not indefinitely, and should remain on YouTube indefinitely. So if you ever want to watch something, just head on over to our YouTube channel if you aren't already there. Passionate People Preposterous Peeves podcast. And yeah, that will stay up there. If you're having any issues with any of them, you can always reach out to me on Twitter at @LikeIkes. Have them all saved until my hard drive gets corrupted or something, and I can get them to you some way or another. But thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you liked it. I know I liked making it. I hope my editor liked editing it. And have a good one.